Conflict. Well, it's one of the largest contributors to hunger worldwide, with 60% of undernourished people living in war zones. So today, Action Against Hunger is launching a new campaign to stop hunger being used as a weapon of war. Jean-Michel Grand is the Executive Director of Action Against Hunger, and he joins me now. Very good morning to you, Jean-Michel. Just in terms of the concept, hunger crime, the weaponisation of hunger, what do you mean by that?
I mean, the phenomenon what Action Against Hunger team in the field are witnesses is that we have a use of weapon, a destruction of livelihood assets done by parties in war with the intention to starve and put pressure on the population. So it's not hunger as a consequence of war, it's hunger and starvation used as a weapon of war, destructing livelihood, fishery farms, the blockade is used in many countries nowadays. That's why we are launching this campaign. 821
million people globally, 1 in 9 people globally suffering from hunger in 2017. So explain the campaign. Action Against Hunger has been using, well, it looks to me just like a pretty straightforward set of cutlery, but it is not. I mean, tell me what I'm holding in my hands here.
What you're holding is basically bullet shells that have been collected in war zones, then melted and transformed into cutlery to symbolize both the war and food, and the hunger and being used as a weapon of war.
Where then is this hunger crime? Where has that most been prevalent? I mean, as a visual device, this works very well. But let's try and put it into practical terms. Where are people starving as a conscious decision, as the end result of a conscious decision by a government, an army, whatever, to use this as a weapon of war?
There are several contexts, but the obvious one nowadays is Yemen.
Yeah.
Yemen, where there is, by both parties in conflict, an intentional blockade, targeting of livelihood and assets, and where you can see there is very high risk of famine and starvation happening in the few months if the peace process that is potentially going on is not successful in the coming weeks.
I mean, do you ever get vaguely dispirited? You know, the international community is aware of this as a phenomenon. The United Nations has tried to assist, but still people are dying day by day in Yemen and elsewhere for what is essentially, ultimately, entirely avoidable.
It is, you're right, entirely avoidable, and I think that that's absolutely the point. And we are pleased to see now that there is some political move on both sides to try to find a peace agreement. And I will say, finally, after 4 years of the international community and ourselves and yourself seeing starving kids on the TV, so we have to remain cautiously optimistic about what's going on today in terms of the discussion, but really, that's why we would like the campaigner and the public opinion to continue to put pressure on our politicians for this peace process to be successful, or peace discussion, sorry, to be successful.
I mean, pretty clearly, any use of hunger as a weapon in a conflict is entirely egregious and should be avoided. But it's not just the supply chain that is being disrupted or food not being allowed into a country. It is the destruction of farmland, the agricultural apparatus, which means that not just in the short term, but in the short to medium and perhaps long term, you're going to have people suffering from hunger.
Exactly, and I think that's why we are promoting as well a two-pronged approach, is to say about helping the people today in terms of their immediate needs, but also looking at how we are going to rebuild it. And it starts by the parties in was stopping to destroy the farms, the agricultural irrigation system, the flocks of the livelihood of the people, and lifting the embargo, lifting the siege that they are today in Yemen. And that's a very, let's live the humanitarian assistance going to the population, which is not the case today.
Well, Jean-Michel, we wish you well, and certainly people will have been grabbed by this rather effective use of the shell casings. That's Jean-Michel Grand, Executive Director of Action Against Hunger. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.